Very soon. Why you say I did nothing for you, and if I do anything you want me to do, maybe another time, maybe another life, you will be my wife and we'll get it right.
All right, lovely people, welcome one. I can say that way I know. All of you are looking at him too much. I wish I had that. Now you go cut him. You go cut him.
Me.
You carry.
And that's all I edited. Wait, Jawom.
Hello, lovely people. Welcome once more to another episode of our unscripted conversations. For today, I'm going to be your host. My name is Akrofi, and I have with me
Michelle.
Tetete.
Judith.
And what we are going to talk about today is trauma in the African household, right? So how have African parents traumatized children? Have they or have they not? And we want to get varied opinions from our honored panel over here. So I'm going to start with Judith here. So Judith, tell us, even to start this all off, right? How do you understand trauma from parents?
Okay, so do you want to be technical? No, not really technical. So trauma is more so a deep-seated, like a feeling or... Hey, it does some cringe. Okay, so trauma actually... Because I'm supposed to be a psychologist, so I should know this. Okay, so trauma actually comes from deep-seated... Go to somebody else, eh? Because I am blanking on my thoughts and I don't even understand.
So gather your thoughts. And
let me gather my thoughts and come back to me.
Let's go to Tetete. So tell us how you understand trauma by parents and if you think that African children are traumatized by their parents.
Okay, so for me, from my perspective, when we are talking about trauma coming from an African household, I'm thinking about it from a place of where the children feel some form of pain, some form of bitterness, some form of resentment towards their parents. Like these children feel like their parents have made them suffer when they didn't have to. From the angle that their parents would say, I went through this, so you would also have to go through this. And they feel like, since you went through this, you should have made it better for me, and you didn't do that. And they feel some form of resentment, some form of pain towards their parents, or some form of bitterness. That's how I understand it. And the next question was?
And so do you think that the average African child is traumatized by their parents?
I believe we've all been traumatized in one way or the other. But it depends on how you look at it. If you look at it from a point of pain and bitterness, it's going to be with you and you won't be able to elevate yourself. But if you heal from that and see that like as a stepping stone or something that is going to push you to become a better person, to do better, and to ensure that you do not pass on that trauma to your offsprings. It depends on how you look at it. Okay. But for me, I'm looking at it from the positive perspective. I'm being optimistic and say, even if that happened, and it happened in one way or the other, because no matter what you do, you're a human being, and your parents are also human being, and maybe they didn't have a manual for parenting, and they had to do what they believe or they thought was best, which does not necessarily mean that was best. But then, for me, I'm looking at it from an optimistic view and to learn from it, to become a better person, and do not to do what they did that I feel wasn't good for me. Yeah.
Optimism is always important in this current world that we are in. Mr. Yua, what do you... Michelle.
Yes.
What do you think about what is trauma? What is that? How do you understand trauma by African parents on their children? And do you think that the average African child is traumatized?
So I recently chanced on a video of a young girl on TikTok, and she was just blasting and bashing her parents, especially her mom, because she feels her mom didn't do all by her. Like her mom brought her in this world, and then she is suffering. Her mom is not giving her the best. Her mom comparing her mother to her colleague's mom and all that. So I think even if the intent was not to have traumatized the child, they still end up being traumatized. So yes, parents to an extent may be the cause of some trauma children experience, but then again, not, I would say not all trauma is an extreme abuse of the child. When we come back, I'll really talk about that one. But as I was saying, maybe the intent wasn't to traumatize the child. I'll go back to what AB was saying, because when he was talking, all I could say in my mind is the parent is also another human who is also imperfect. So where your mom or your dad is falling short, you are seeing it as wrong because you've seen something different. What if that is all you had seen? That is what you know. Your mom shouting at you, "Hey Judith, go and bring that is all that you knew." You probably would see it as something normal. So I think before we started, producer was talking about something with traditional and the modern lifestyle, and I think as the world is evolving, we are beginning to see other sides of things that is making us see what other things as negative or as bad. So again, yes, Ghanaian children to an extent can be traumatized by their parents. But then again, if you look at it from the point of view of the parents, maybe the intent wasn't to traumatize the child. It's just digitalization and then evolvement that is making us see most of these things like that. So that's how I would say it.
Okay. That's an interesting point of view.
But to add something to what she said, yes, maybe the parents didn't think they were traumatizing, but there are some parents who do that intentionally.
Yeah.
He or she would say that I didn't have this, so you would also suffer to get what I have. That's what, and they do it intentionally. I've seen cases like that, and that's very bad. Worker. Yes, I've seen cases like that.
Wait, where parents actually deprive their kids of things?
Yeah. He or she will be like, I have suffered to do this or do that, so you should also suffer.
But like, there are some parents who are also trying that. I went through this. I don't want you to go through
this.
Yes.
I'm not saying like it's a one size shoe fits, or I say like 50-50. Yeah, it's like balanced or no balanced. It's mutual.
Yes.
Have you gathered your thoughts?
I have gathered my thoughts now. Yeah. The malt is doing this magic.
Oh, I see.
It was hunger, okay?
Good.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do you think? How do you define trauma by African parents on their children, and do you think that the average African child is traumatized?
Okay. So generally, I would say like trauma is like actions that stem from pain that is not addressed properly. Yes, so that's like generally. When it comes to like the average Ghanaian home, I think most Ghanaian children are actually traumatized for sure. And I think what Michelle said, that may not be the intention. I have seen a lot of Ghanaian parents, and I grew up in the rural part of Ghana, so I know what I'm talking about when I say that Ghanaian parents mostly want the best for their children. And I sometimes it doesn't come across the right way. It doesn't land. People live vicariously through their kids. They're like, I didn't have the chance to go to the university. You must go to the university. And that could be like something that a child may feel like, okay, my father or my mother is pushing me and I am traumatized. But then at the end of the day, the intention was right. So I think that, yes, the average Ghanaian child may be traumatized, but the intention from the parents is not to traumatize their kids. So there is an imbalance there. Like, it doesn't always land the way they want it to land. Yeah, that's what I think.
All right. So then, Michelle. All right. So let's take a word from our producer first, and then.
So I want to define trauma, so that you guys understand it.
Yes, ma'am.
So trauma refers to a deeply distressing or shocking experience, either a single event or ongoing, that overwhelms a person's ability to cope, causing significant mental, emotional, or physical injury, often disrupting their sense of safety and leading to long-lasting issues like PTSD, anxiety, or behavioral changes, even long after the physical event has passed. And it says here that it is referred to a wound that affects the mind and the body from severe physical injury. So have that at the back of your mind.
All right. Yeah. Thank you very much, producer. So I think we had bits and pieces of that in there. So now we know holistically what trauma is specifically referring to. So I'm going to piggyback on what you were talking about, and I think you guys are talking about it's not necessarily they're not necessarily trying to traumatize their children, right? I think that is something that is common through you guys' submission. But Judith, I'll start with you. What do you think is the reason for this trauma in the first place, right? So where does this trauma come from? Even if the parents are not intentionally trying to traumatize their children, right? Is it that society, African society generally supports trauma? Is it something that is celebrated by us? Is it because of expectations? What is the cause of the unintentional trauma that you are saying that happens on the children by the parents?
I think I would say it is a lack of noise about trauma itself. In our local Ghanaian society, like, I don't think like trauma is given as much coverage as it should be given. People don't even accept that a child could be traumatized. People don't understand. Like, you could tell a mother, like, okay, this child may be depressed. They don't even know that. They're like, no, you're just being lazy.
Yeah.
So I think it is more so culturally how accepting we are of trauma. Yeah, I think we don't really accept like all these, like, and mental health is another thing, you know. So I think the most thing is we don't talk about it enough. We don't educate our parents enough. Even the children don't learn about it enough, and that is why it is still like a thing. Because you could, I'm very sure you could go to a home and be like, okay, this child is showing some symptoms of, you know, being traumatized in one way or the other, and the parents are gonna be like, no, I'm gonna pray it out of this person. But no, we love prayer, but there are certain things that science and psychology needs to fix, but we don't have that education yet. That's what I think.
Telete,
Yeah. The same question.
what do you think? Yes.
Yeah, I think I agree with her assertion, because it's like most of the things that we are doing, it's like we're on flight mode, right? So like most of the things that they are doing, it has been passed on from culture to culture. So we've not been enlightened enough to know that what we are doing is causing some pain, is causing some resentment. But for us who are now heading into adulthood, because of our worldview and now the perceptions and perspectives that we have because of education, we now try to understand how things are happening in our lives, and we try to put meaning into those things that are happening in our lives. And we are now understanding that, oh, this and this happened when I was young. Oh, I think I was traumatized. But then initially for them, they didn't know. So I always say that probably, maybe I might be wrong, but probably if they knew better, they would have done better. Yes, but then they were operating with what they knew, and there's no manual, right?
Okay.
So for me, I believe that once we know better, we should now do better. Because, like she said, maybe in the, like earlier on we were talking about what was the word, resilience. Like when I gave the example, when we were talking about examples of resilience, and I saw it as normal, but then in my classroom in Europe, they're like, nah, this is you being resilient. So I feel it all boils down to education. We have to learn about. Do you want to say something? No? Okay. It all boils down to education, and for us to try to understand the whole terminology of trauma and try to also explain it to our parents or the older adults in the society for them to understand. But the question here is, would they listen?
Yeah.
So you are trying to tell us that you think that the unintentional trauma is basically as a result of ignorance, right?
Yeah,
That
it can
they
boil
don't
down to
know
that. Yeah,
better.
probably.
Okay.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michelle, do you have a different opinion?
The term ignorance is what I am a bit on.
I think I was probably forcing that term on him. I think when he
But
never
like,
mentioned ignorance, I said
yeah.
ignorance.
But he also mentioned that if they knew,
Better.
Probably.
Yeah.
now we know, so it's
Yeah.
still kind of connected
Because
to
wait,
ignorance.
before you go on, because maybe some people also, maybe their parents know better, but still
Yeah.
they don't do better. So it depends.
Because okay, what I was thinking about the like the whole cultural setting, like I was.
Gosh.
Good.
I was thinking about the cultural setting, like in our Ghanaian society or
Yeah.
Ghanaian community. If that is how it's like, there are some things that happens in our some African homes or some Ghanaian homes that our grandfathers or grandmothers will think it was someone that is like marrying a child of when he or she is young. It was more like a practice then, and it looked normal to them. If a child is say 17 or 18, it's called, is it a siwa or
Early marriage.
Early
child
child marriage.
marriage.
Those
No,
times.
STY is actually is it betrothing?
So those those kind of things. I think that time, and you the child again, because of our cultural setting, you don't have the right to object or to debate on that. You just have to accept it. So I think it's caused by our cultural setting, which now maybe again we know better, so we are trying to correct it. But then I'll just blame it on our cultural setting. Some parents think that's how it's done.
Yeah.
That's how it's supposed to be done in my home. That is how my grandfather did it. That's how my grandmother did. They lived. They are fine. So why are you now saying that you are depressed? Why are you now saying that you cannot eat because I told you to wash utensils overnight? So I think it's the cultural setting where we find ourselves, because now the world is evolving. We hear things, we see things. So that's why from the onset I was talking about the distinction. When you start seeing that this is different from that, that is when you start. Oh no. Then I was, because Abraham cited an example that now you hear that, oh, this is about that, and then he said, oh, then I was traumatized when I was young. Maybe if he had not come to know this now, if he had not seen a different side of it, he wouldn't see that as a trauma or less than a traumatic experience. So I'm going to blame it on our geographical location or our cultural setting. That is why some parents to an extent may traumatize their child, and we are now seeing that it as trauma because we are learning a lot, we are seeing a lot which is different from what we used to know or what's in our society our mothers or our fathers used to know.
Okay, so you think that the culture itself is in a way promoting this way of parents traumatizing their children?
Yeah,
all
I
right,
think that's
all right.
Producer
So
has
let's all right, producer.
So to add to what Michelle was saying about the culture, even now I think it's still the culture, because on TikTok or on social media, I see content where people are saying generational trauma is still going to continue with us. We are not breaking it, and then you see reels where maybe when we were kids, our parents used to buy us oversized shoes and clothes, and, really nice things. And then someone is now intentionally doing that to his or her children because that was done to them when they were kids. So it's a culture.
So then let's know exactly what we are talking about. What are some of the things that traumatizes African children, right? Is it, for example, I know of this situation where we are beaten as kids, right? So how many of us were beaten as children? So what are some of these things that traumatize African children?
Oh, she also go first. Go first.
Intern producer.
Female genital
Well,
mutilation.
no, we are talking about your experience. Don't.
What if she is muted?
Have you
Are you? So what are some of the things?
Well, I
you do?
think one thing that probably needs to looked at is the pressure we put on children to be overachievers. Like that is one thing that puts so much pressure on children. Allow children to be children. They need to play, they need to develop social skills. It's good to have children, study and be good. We love education. We're all in school. But we do not have to put undue pressure on children to be overachievers. If your child is good with art, let your child become an artist. And if they have the passion. Not everybody has to be a doctor. Not everybody has to be an engineer. Doing that is like putting children in boxes that they really do not fit. So I think one thing that we overlook is the pressure we put on children to be overachievers. It traumatizes them so much. We need to give them the autonomy. It's their life. You have the best intentions, but they know what is best for them. So I think like parents, we're going to be parents very soon in Jesus' name.
Amen.
Hallelujah. We need to do right by our children. So that's what I think.
Yeah, and I think even on that point, I think that it is one of the things that don't let certain aspects of the African culture progress, because if nobody wants their child to be an artist, how are we going to have art, right?
Yeah.
And all. So we are talking about the examples of trauma, right? So do you have any examples of trauma in the African society? Examples of trauma on the African child?
One typical example is you not talking back when an elder is talking.
Okay.
So even if you have a case and you want to explain yourself, You can't say anything.
So
just
you don't think the parents are always right?
No, they are not always right.
Okay.
Nobody. I repeat, nobody is a custodian of knowledge.
Papa Tete, please are you watching? Please are you watching?
Nobody is a custodian of knowledge.
Yeah.
How you see things and how I see things, it's all about perspective. So even if there's an issue or there's a case at hand, at least just maybe even if what I have to say, even if it doesn't make sense, just let me say it and then reason with me and tell me that, oh, this and this doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Can we go about it this way?
Yeah.
And even the way you might even explain it to me, I'm like, oh, okay. That is why we have to do it this way. If you let me understand it that way, I'll be able to express myself. But here's a case whereby growing up, most of us, if you speak then you get back into your shell and then you grow up, and now when someone is even trying to intimidate you, if you are not hard, you just sit down and then the person will talk to you anyhow. Meanwhile, you could have explained yourself.
Yeah. And all right, so let me take the final submission. So Michelle, what are some of the examples of trauma that you see in the African?
Before she comes, let me give her an example of her example.
Okay.
Like in our previous discussion, she was like, when her grades dropped, she panicked because she was striving for perfection. And that's a perfect example I took from her story.
The thing knows about your trauma more than you do.
So say something else.
Well, I'm not going to talk about that, but then I have like a list of examples. The first one was that what Judith said, the push for perfection. Second was comparing your child to another person's child, comparing your child to their friends. And the third one, which is very important to me, is how they portray marriage. I feel like most young girls today wouldn't want to get married, or young people don't want to get married because of how their parents portrayed marriage to them. Some do not make it look so pleasing for their child to also want to get married. So one thing I always pray about is I want to portray marriage in a way to my child that he or she would really want to. That is, if God wants them to, he or she would desire to be married. I wouldn't. So that's, again, I'm just summarizing it. The push to be perfect. You just have to excel academically. If you're not doing, I remember my dad. Mr. Bachi, I love you so much. My dad wanted me to read science. Because like, Michelle, you are smart, you have to do science. And now he's also so proud of me because I love to talk and I love languages, I love media. So now I was telling him that, so in Kamekwa, science now mete lab and mete surgical room. Would you be seeing me on TV, listening to me on radio, hearing my voiceovers and telling me if you're sending mommy? No, my dad can call me that this production that I did, no, or let's say this voiceover, I should have I should have presented it this way and all that. I'm like, science now. Who are you going to flounce like that? So that's strict decision, like not really making room for the child to also add your opinions, like what AB was saying. No, I want to do it this way. Can I also do it that way? As Francis said it beautifully. They should guide you. It should be a guide. We are not parents yet, but at least with a little we know, if your child gets to that point, it should be guidance you are given to them so that they can also, because sometimes I tell maybe I tell them that, are you questioning your upbringing to me? Because if you are confident that you brought me up well, you shouldn't have issues with that one. So again, the whole strictness to be perfect, comparing a child to another. Comparing your child, there be way mommy way banana on any say mommy way banana any say papa way ban one any say Mr. Nemo's child is in Australia, you to go to China. That sort of comparison, and also how they portray marriage. I think it's one area that kids end up being so traumatized, because if their mother or their father, they're always fighting, they have quarrels, the child is not going to grow up even admire the need to have like that sort of closeness or even friendship with other people. So
okay, so then I think that I'm interested in, you mentioned how they portrayed marriage, right? So what are some of the ways that you think that African parents in general have portrayed marriage that you think is unappealing to their children? I don't know if you are talking specifically about the girl child,
having quarrels in front of your kids.
Okay.
Fighting in front of your kids.
But
like,
don't
that
parents
happens
fight
all over
everywhere?
the world.
So I'm just saying it in general, like not
Okay.
just in Ghana or just in Africa.
So you're trying to say that it's not only African children that
Well,
are
me,
traumatized.
You know that some people's children, because people might traumatized. I mean, kind of chin. Because people might more traumatized. One day. So yeah, how having arguments in front of the kids, with the child is always seen that there is conflict in the home, the mother is talking down on the father, the mother is shouting at the father is not at home, he's always absent. Like, if she's not seeing that kind of thing, he or she is not seeing that kind of thing, they are going to end up being traumatized, because it's, as the producer defined trauma, it's not like just a sequence of events that the child is being exposed to all the time, which is affecting their physical or their mental being, is going to traumatize them.
I think another thing too is like, it's not so common for you to find African parents express love, like physically. Like, I'm sure many people will be like, I haven't even seen my mom and my dad kiss. I haven't seen them like hug. You know? And I think another thing too could be like the spirit of suppressing, like, you know, suppression. Yeah. So women or wives may be suppressed. They may feel like, oh, okay, whatever my husband says is like, you know, what is to be, or whatever my wife says is final. But one thing that I would say is, like, children do not see marriage as an expression of love. They probably see their parents as roommates, but like, well, they're having children, they're living in the same room. I don't see any affection. And I think that is another thing too that affects the trauma that Michelle.
And I also talk about the right hand rule and the left hand rule, and then the use of titles and all that. I don't know.
Which
maybe
one is the right hand rule and left hand rule?
You know, like, is it when you're
it's
left-handed?
disrespectful to. I think
Oh,
Felicia was
oh,
talking
really?
about the
Like
fact that
this, yeah.
she was a left-handed person. They had to beat her out of it because.
really?
And I don't even understand why that thing is. Like, really, is there a reason why? Because I know people
I
that
think
are,
that, so just to talk, I think that is not also not restricted to Africa, in the sense that, so for example, previously in the past, very, very long in the past in Europe, they referred to people, the left hand, as being sinister. So they also saw left-handedness as being evil in a way. I don't know specifically how they addressed that. I don't know if there were certain cultural norms, but I do know that they refer to the left hand as being sinister. Even, I think the Latin, so you'd have to correct me on that or
Assistant
fact check
producer.
me. But I think even the Latin word for left is probably sinister. It means something like that, right? So I think it's not restricted to African settings.
Okay.
But yeah, I think I can catch you.
Producer has
So-
something
Alright.
to say.
Producer, you wanted to say
Yeah,
something?
you I think you all said a lot, but you forgot the main thing, that is beating.
Harold mentioned the
I think she
beating.
said it.
Harold
Yeah.
started with the beating.
Yeah.
Yes.
Say, like, here's like the example.
Yeah.
If you've
Yeah.
been beaten before.
Yeah.
like,
That's your number one trauma.
Yes, beating the
The
child.
Bible says,
Spare the rod and spoil the child.
but we have some parents that
Sometimes
always
it's too much.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so that's our producer sharing her trauma right now. So this is unscripted,
Yeah.
so we are having conversations
again- oh,
every
sorry.
way and anyhow. All right, Judith, you wanted to.
So
talk
yeah, I
about
just wanted to ask something. I think one of the reasons why I love this show is that we're learning. So I really don't think corporal punishment is the way to go. But for some other people who do not know anything, that's all they know, and they have children. How do you think they should actually train these children? What kind of punishment system should they, employ when they're raising their kids? Because they may only know corporal punishment, like, I'm gonna whoop your ass, but that's not the right way to go. So what do you think they should do? Just
That's a deep question.
Yes. So yeah, because I think that one thing that also happens is, sometimes when you look at children who are not caned, right? I think that there is a difference between those kids and then kids who are caned as children. And I think that sometimes, for example, if you look at maybe American society, the things like you see on TV or this kind of like stereotypes, and then you say that, the white man's kids, they can just like say anything to their parents. They can shout at their parents anyhow. They can say whatever at their parents. But then the black man's children don't do that, right? And then people say that, no, it's like a respect thing. So the black children are more respectful than the white people. Is there a better way of doing things? Is there an optimum way of doing things? I don't think I know the answer to that.
I think there is a better way of doing things, because we have a lot of immigrants who have trained their children so well, although they grew up in the foreign system, American system, European system. I can use like some football players as examples. You can see Bukayo Saka, very well respected Nigerian child. He's still very, very humble, listens to his parents, does things usually the right way. But he grew up in the English culture.
But are you sure that maybe in their home somewhere, the mother didn't like capture him in one corner and was caning him, and that's why he's very respectful?
I doubt, because in Europe, if there's a hint of abuse, your children are going to be taken away from you. So you have to find a system. And I know parents or people who use the reward system. Okay, so you are my child and I provide your basic necessities for you. Those are the things that I have to provide for you. But I do not have to give you a phone. I do not have to give you a tablet. I've taken you to school. You've seen all your friends using a tablet and you come and tell me that you need a tablet.
And if you don't give it to me, I will be traumatized.
Yes, and if you are not a good child, you think I'm going to do that for you. That's where we start from.
Yeah.
The reward system, those basic things. Okay, do this chore, I'm going to give you this. Do this, I'm going to give you this. And that's how we
Should
start.
it always be like that? You do this and I give
Oh
you
no, I'm
that?
just giving
Okay,
an
well,
example.
I
Yeah,
get it, I
for
get
for
it.
what
Yeah,
the
I
example
get it.
from where we can start from. Yeah, because we have like immigrants who are raising children not in the African culture but some African way where you still have the children, although they are immersed in the foreign culture, they are still bringing up core African values, which is helping them survive.
Yeah.
And like I always say, once you have both perspectives, like from the African perspective and then the foreign perspective, and you're able to find a balance, it works best for you. And like right now that we are here, we have both perspectives.
So I
That's
think,
why
I think it's
Yeah,
still
same what you're saying.
it kind of boils down to what we started with our cultural setting, and then the intentions of whatever thing our parents do. Although to some extent we've not mentioned the how like this is sexual abuse can traumatize. I don't know. I don't have evidence of a father. I've heard stories about a father sexually abusing a child, and that's I think that's another dimension of trauma that we would have to talk about. But then I think we are limiting it to the
Our
ones
own
we are
personal-
normalized,
yeah.
like it's being normalized, but in a way it's traumatizing the child. And I think with what you're saying is more like the cultural thing. That's how the culture is set up. That is how we do things. So if the child also comes to understand that this is how my setting is, it's different from this other particular like this setting, then I'm going to do things my way without feeling entitled to what the other child is getting from another geographical location and all that. So yeah.
I agree too. I agree too with what Abraham said, because I think like caning children is like the biggest kind of abuse that children face in Ghana. And I think like what Abraham said was exactly what I was also thinking about. We need to devise ways that we're going to employ to reinforce acceptable behaviors and then decrease or diminish like behaviors that we want to diminish or let go, extinct. What the heck is happening to my brain right now? But yeah, I think it's children should know that they are not entitled to anything. Like, I don't have to give you a phone, like he said. And using this whole reinforcement and punishment system, I think should be really, really, really used like crazily to hey, what is happening to me? I'm so hungry, you people. Anyway, it should be actually used to replace the corporal punishments that we see. So I think taking privileges away and then tough love. That's my kind of love. I believe so much in tough love. So yeah, I agree with you.
I don't support the whole caning stuff because I know, first of all, apart from the fact that it instills fear in kids, another thing, I have friends who became resistant. I don't know how to, I don't know the English to use, like, now beats him or her as much as
don't feel anything.
So it's either caning the child intensifies what he or she is doing. They get to the point that I'm doing, my mother will beat me, that's what she's going to do. My father will cane me, that's what was the person going to do. So caning has its good side and it's just bad because it only instills fear in the child and also either make them move more to the wrong side and all that. So
I don't agree. I think that I think that caning is important. Right? I don't think that it should be done to the extreme. I think that people do it to the extreme, in the sense that they do it and then the children are even like scared of them, right? And they are not even able to like have a
so how can you
conversation with them or
minimize
things
caning?
like that. But I think that a level of discipline in the sense of caning, punishments like that. I think that it brings some, it brings some ahukinya in the spirit of the child, right?
How?
I think that
because if the caning, even if it's your palm, or I don't know why else you're going to beat the child that is not going to show on their body, like it's traumatizing.
I think that if you know that if you do something,
okay, can you use it to scare them or what?
For it.
You can use it to scare.
So I'm not looking at it from the point of view of it being a tactic to instill fear. That's why I'm saying that it shouldn't be done such that the child is not even able to approach their parents, right? But I think that a level of it is important so that the child knows that, okay, the reward for doing bad is this, the reward for doing this naughty thing is you receiving this punishment, and it will guide them from that.
In this day and age, you think that is going to work?
I think the day and age
I
doesn't
don't think
matter,
they
in my
produce
opinion.
canes again, crap.
Once again, a reminder, we are having an unscripted conversation talking about trauma in an African childhood or an African household, and we'll be having interactions with our producers and all. So if you see us just quietly listening to a voice which seems to come from somewhere in the sky, we're just having a conversation with our producers, okay? Yeah. All right, so then I want us to wrap up this conversation. Let's give our thoughts on the effects that this has on relationship with parents, right? So we have understood the kinds of trauma, the effects it has on the child. How about the relationship within the parents? Do you guys think that this kind of trauma that is in the African household, does it impact on the relationship that the child has with the parents? What is the ideal relationship that we should have, and how does it impact on the relationship that we have with the children? So who is going to begin for us?
Okay, I can go first.
All right.
So I think, first of all, I think Judith mentioned it, that it creates a gap or it distances the child from the parents, because at this point now the child cannot comfortably come to his or her mom, or his or her mom to talk about, or her dad to talk about something that is bothering them. So the child again maybe has not seen, we are going to talk about it, but hasn't seen a mom or a dad being affectionate with each other. They'll definitely see it outside, and they cannot have that confidence to come home to talk about. So it creates a gap. It affects the relationship by distancing the child, and now the child will end up seeking that maybe elsewhere, and now it becomes a problem, which again they might not even address in the household. So yes, the effect, it distance the child, and I think the perfect relationship we should have is the child should be able, like, should be more like a friendship. No, friendship might not be the best word, but you should be able to comfortably and unrestrictedly walk to your dad, talk about things, talk about maybe even if it's something he or she did that is bothering you. There should be that level of comfort in the home that the child can come to the mother or the father to talk about. That way, if the child is being sobbing somewhere thinking about it, I know that, oh, let me go and talk to my dad, the trauma is going to reduce. Even there wouldn't be any trauma in the house, because the child knows that my dad is there for me, my mom is there for me. They're not going to judge me. They're not going to say that I'm a bad child. They're not going to say that I'm evil, I have to take you to a deliverance home or anything. So yeah, the perfect relationship should be that which the child can come to the mother, the father, or the father and the mother can also talk to the child and then resolve issues and all that without necessarily a third person, unless it's really extreme. Yeah.
No, I was going to give the example about, when you're watching, say, a telenovela or an American movie or whatever movie, and then they start making out or they're having sex. See, you're watching the movie with your parents. You can't stare, because now your parents, if you watch too long, they're thinking, oh, so this is what you've been doing when you're not in the house. And you're not looking into what, asking, why are you not looking? What are you hiding?
Cultural setting.
Issues.
Yeah.
Yes, and still on that same topic. So what are your thoughts, Senator? What do you think?
I feel there's no perfect relationship, and all relationships have their ups and downs. And now that you know better and you can do better, you should definitely talk to your parents or have an interaction with them and try to tell them how you feel about how certain things happen, and see if they also understand you, because the past is gone and there's nothing you can do about it. So you can strive for a better future. And once you try to understand where they came from, and they also try to understand where you come from, you can draw a middle ground. But then if you say you're going to take things personal, you are going to harbor some bitterness or resentment in you, and it's not going to be good for you. So you just have to be optimistic and then look ahead, try to explain your points to them. If they understand, fine. If they don't understand also, that's fine. Now you know better, you can do better. And so just look for it. Don't hold anything personal. It's hard, but just overlook it. Yeah.
Hold nothing personal. Judith,
Wait, what was the question? Can you just say
is there an ideal relationship between parents and children in the African household? And does the trauma that we are seeing some of these children experience, does it affect their relationship with their parents?
Okay. So I think, well, I can talk for my ideal relationship, or the one that I would want to have with my kids. I think an ideal relationship would be, or an ideal environment would be a home where the children know that the parents, they've got them through thick and thin, and then they know that they can tell their parents anything without the fear of judgment or the fear of undue punishment. And the parents also believe that they have instilled good values in their kids, and they trust their kids enough to make the best decisions. And they also have the mindset that even if my child backslides or my child does something that I don't think is really good, I am not doing something radical to my child. I am still going to have my child as my child, and I am still going to protect my child and figure out how I am going to take it up from the point that they have, you know, I don't know, backslided or whatever. And backslid.
That's it.
What do you say?
So,
Grammar check.
grammar check. So I know your past as and a past participle. I was here to show. I was here to show.
Backsliding. Okay.
Okay. So what was the second part of the
So
You've
and
answered
I've answered
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
See,
yeah.
I'm just a yapper.
So I think I want to add one last thing as for us, the kids, ourselves, or let's say children watching, I think there should be that point that you also know that your parent is another human being. Abraham mentioned, who is also not perfect. So rather than jumping into conclusion, thinking your mother or your father just hates you, that is why he or she is doing that. As you grow and know better to do better, try to understand that he or she is also another human being who is probably trying to figure out how parenting is like, and then work with him, make them understand you. It might be difficult, but then it's certainly doable.
And I think it's also okay. I think we should start normalizing parents being vulnerable with their kids. I think we see our parents as superheroes. Yes, they are. But if you're a mom, if you're a dad, and you feel like, okay, I messed up in this way, or I did this thing and then I don't think it was the right thing that I did, or I saw you in this light, and I like, please be vulnerable with your kids. Let them know that I'm not doing this because I hate you. I'm doing this because I love you and I want the best for you.
I actually love that about my parents.
Oh, yeah.
They are so vulnerable with us.
Okay,
Like,
we're
bashing them,
coming.
I got to
Mr. Butch, I love you.
Yeah. So that's I mean, and I think like
sign out.
okay.
Donate, do you have any final thoughts on trauma in the African household? Any message you want to relay?
The average
What do
parent.
you
The average
see?
parent, I just want to say that times are changing, and I feel like this new set of parents are trying their best because they know better. So there's always room for improvement, and like I said, nobody's the custodian of knowledge. So let's keep learning.
All right, so this has been the unscripted conversation, and it has been wonderful having you guys. Thank you to my panel, Judith.
And Michelle.
Yes. And so that's also been wonderful having you as our viewers. Remember to like this, put your notifications on for this channel as you subscribe, so that anytime we post a video, you are able to see it. And please, please, please share this video out to your friends, family, friends, enemies, whoever is close to you. Please share this out so that it reaches a wider audience. All right, so
Shout out to producer.
shout out to our producers Edith and our intern producer Esperanza.
Who didn't do her work?
Grandma checks.
So signing out. Thank you all. Love you guys. Bye.
And backslid is actually correct. I'm checking it.